Think your fridge is keeping your food safe? Think again. Many common foods, even natural ones, turn into health hazards when stored incorrectly in the refrigerator. We're not talking about highly processed items, but everyday ingredients you might be unknowingly compromising. This can lead to dangerous toxins, destroyed nutrients, and even elevate your risk for serious conditions like cancer, diabetes, and metabolic disorders. Ever chilled raw potatoes to make them last, or tossed an overripe tomato into the crisper? What about bread, banished to the fridge to prevent mold? These seemingly innocent habits could be doing more harm than good. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden impacts of refrigeration on these foods and reveal simple steps to safeguard your health. This is the channel. Subscribe now so you don't miss out on life-changing tips. Let's dive right in. The potato paradox. The first mistake millions make daily: refrigerating raw potatoes. It seems logical, right? Cold preserves. But for potatoes, it's the opposite. The starch in potatoes rapidly converts to sugar in cold temperatures. This becomes a problem when those potatoes are baked or fried at high heat. That sugar reacts with amino acids, forming a toxic compound called acrylamide. Yes, acrylamide, a substance science has linked to an increased risk of ovarian, esophageal, kidney, and even endometrial cancer. Ever seen a potato that's overly golden, super crispy, or even charred? That desirable crispy crust is often loaded with these toxins. And here's the kicker: even if your potato looks perfectly cooked and shows no burnt spots, if it was refrigerated beforehand, its acrylamide levels can be significantly higher, even if you can't taste it. But the issues don't stop there. The fridge's humidity also encourages the growth of mold, bacteria, and fungi. So, besides becoming toxic, your potatoes spoil faster, turning soft and dark, often ending up in the trash. The solution: store potatoes the traditional way, outside the fridge, in a dry, well-ventilated, dark place. A basket or cloth bag is ideal. Never use plastic bags. If possible, eat them with the skin on, as it helps regulate blood sugar. And when cooking, avoid temperatures above 180 ring operator C. The tomato tangle now. Pay attention, because the next mistake is even more common: storing tomatoes in the fridge. We often fill our refrigerator drawers with them. But what many don't realize is that cold temperatures damage the tomato's internal membranes, compromising its texture, flavor, and most importantly, its nutritional value. When a tomato goes into the fridge, its natural ripening process halts. This ripening is crucial for boosting the powerful antioxidant lycopene. Lycopene offers protection against premature aging, cardiovascular diseases, inflammation, and certain cancers. It combats cellular oxidation, essentially the silent rusting of your body. So, refrigerating a tomato prevents this vital antioxidant from fully developing. And let's not forget the texture. Who hasn't bitten into a cold, watery tomato with an odd, muted taste? That's the cold destroying the fruit's structure from within. The solution is simple: store tomatoes outside the fridge in an airy basket, away from direct sunlight. Here's a tip: to speed up the ripening of a green tomato, place it near a banana or an apple. These fruits release ethylene, a natural ripening accelerator. However, avoid eating tomatoes with very green parts, as they contain solanine, which can be toxic. The bread blunder. Speaking of bread, let's address the third most common error: refrigerating bread to ward off mold. This is a classic. The problem is, cold speeds up bread's moisture loss and breaks down its internal structure. The result: hard, dry bread, devoid of aroma or flavor. If it's whole grain or naturally fermented, it's even worse. Plus, the fridge's humidity can have the opposite effect of what you intend. Instead of preventing mold, it often promotes its growth. The inside of a refrigerator might feel dry, but there's a lot of circulating humidity that actually accelerates mold formation. So, how do you store bread correctly? If you'll eat it within 2 days, keep it in an airtight container or cloth bag, away from light and humidity. For longer storage, freeze it. Freezing bread is the safest way to preserve its nutrients and prevent waste. What's more, when frozen bread is later heated in a toaster, oven, or skillet, it forms resistant starch, a type of fiber that improves digestion, balances blood sugar, and nourishes your gut microbiome. Before we move on to other foods being incorrectly stored and harming your health, tell me in the comments: do you usually store any of these 3 foods in the fridge? Have you ever heard of acrylamide? The avocado anomaly. Now, let's move to part 2. Have you ever placed a green avocado in the fridge, thinking it would preserve it better? This common practice can utterly ruin the texture, flavor, and nutrients of one of the healthiest fruits on the planet. Avocados are sensitive to cold, especially when unripe. Refrigerating them too early deactivates the enzymes responsible for their natural ripening. The outcome: a fruit that's hard on the outside, fibrous inside with dark spots, a bitter taste, and a lower concentration of active compounds. Few realize that this timing mistake can prevent the avocado from reaching its full potential, diminishing its healthy fats, gut-regulating fibers, and vital antioxidants for heart and brain health. The solution: let your avocado ripen outside the fridge at room temperature. Here's an easy trick to speed things up. Place the avocado in a paper bag with a banana or an apple. These fruits release ethylene, a natural gas that stimulates ripening. In a day or two, you'll have a perfectly ripe avocado. Once the fruit is ripe, you can store it in the fridge, but only for a maximum of 2 days. If it's cut, store it with a few drops of lemon or a lime slice over the pulp. This prevents oxidation and keeps the color vibrant and the flavor fresh longer. And if you know you won't use it in the next few days, freeze it. Frozen avocado remains highly nutritious, especially for sauces, spreads, or guacamole. It can be stored this way for up to 6 months. The banana blunder. Now, pay attention because the next food is one of the most consumed globally and almost always stored incorrectly. The banana. Most people put bananas in the fridge as soon as they get home from the market. This is a mistake. The banana's peel is extremely sensitive to cold. When refrigerated, it rapidly darkens, even if the flesh inside is still fine. This isn't about ripening, it's the degradation of natural pigments. Inside, the effect is even worse. Cold alters the banana's texture, making it mealy with an altered taste and fewer bioavailable nutrients. Here's a crucial detail: the riper a banana, the higher its glycemic index. This means it releases sugar into the blood faster, causing glucose and insulin spikes. This can lead to increased hunger, fat accumulation, and over time, raise the risk of insulin resistance, diabetes, and even certain types of cancer. So, the best way to eat a banana is at its optimal point: a yellow peel with no dark spots or overly soft areas. To store it better, avoid the cold and do this: wrap the stems with aluminum foil or plastic wrap. This slows down ethylene release and delays natural ripening, keeping the fruit fresh longer. If you want to freeze ripe bananas to avoid waste, that's great. Peel, slice, store in containers or freezer bags, and use later in smoothies, pancakes, or healthy desserts. The garlic gamble. Now we come to a very serious point: a powerful food that, if stored incorrectly, can become a real health risk. Garlic. Yes, garlic, so praised for its medicinal properties, and rightly so, can lose much of its potency if stored in the fridge. Worse still, under certain conditions, it can even promote the growth of dangerous bacteria. Let's break it down. When you store raw garlic in the fridge, especially if it's already chopped or peeled, the cold stimulates early sprouting. Those green shoots indicate that the garlic's metabolism has changed, reducing the presence of allicin, garlic's most important active compound, responsible for its anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, and protective effects on the heart and brain. But the bigger problem arises when people make homemade mixes of chopped garlic with olive oil, store them in a jar, and leave them at room temperature. It seems practical, right? But it's extremely dangerous. This combination creates a perfect environment for the growth of Clostridium botulinum, the bacterium that causes botulism, a serious illness that can affect nerves, cause paralysis, and even be fatal in extreme cases. So, what should you do? Store whole garlic with its peel in a dry, cool, airy place away from direct light. If you want chopped garlic on hand without risks, freeze it. Simply chop, place small portions in molds or bags, and keep them in the freezer. This way, you preserve flavor, properties, and safety. The honey hazard. We've reached the final food on this list, and perhaps the most surprising: honey. For years, honey has been seen as a healthier alternative to sugar. And yes, it contains natural compounds with anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and antioxidant properties. But all of that can be wasted or even become a risk if you store it incorrectly. A common mistake is storing honey in the fridge. Many do this thinking it preserves it better, but the opposite happens. Cold causes a process called crystallization, where the honey's natural sugar separates from the water. This makes it grainy, opaque, harder, and difficult to use. Here's the problem. Many people, seeing crystallized honey, think it's spoiled and try to fix it in the worst way, by putting it in the microwave or heating it directly in a pan. But when honey is heated above 40 ring operator C, it loses much of its enzymes and antioxidants. In other words, it loses its medicinal potency. So, the best way to store honey is simple: at room temperature in a tightly sealed jar, away from sunlight and humidity. This preserves its natural texture, aroma, and beneficial properties. But here's a critical point. Despite being natural, honey is rich in sugar. Excessive consumption carries the same risks as refined sugar. It raises blood sugar, overloads the pancreas, increases triglycerides, and can promote fat accumulation in the liver and chronic inflammation. Honey is not a harmless food. It's powerful, yes, but it should be used like medicine, in moderation. 1 teaspoon once or twice a day can be beneficial in specific cases, like for colds or sore throats. But using it as a daily sugar substitute in everything can have the opposite effect of what you expect. If you consume honey thinking it's healthier than any sugar, be careful, because in the end, if consumed in excess, your body will react the same way. Insulin spikes, more hunger, more abdominal fat, and a higher risk of metabolic diseases. Your fridge's hidden dangers. A quick recap. To recap, here are the 7 foods you should no longer store in the fridge. Raw potatoes. They become a source of acrylamide, potentially carcinogenic. Tomatoes. They lose flavor, texture, and antioxidants like lycopene. Bread. It dries out, loses properties, and promotes mold. Avocados. If stored green, ripening stalls and they lose nutrients. Bananas. They darken, change flavor, and increase their glycemic index. Garlic. It can sprout, lose allicin, and even cause botulism if poorly stored. Honey. It crystallizes in the cold and loses properties if overheated. If you've made one or more of these mistakes, don't blame yourself. Most people do this thinking they're taking care of their health. But now you know the truth, and with simple changes, you can better protect your food and your body. Tell me in the comments, which of these mistakes have you made without knowing? Did you usually refrigerate any of these foods, thinking you were doing the right thing? If this content helped you in any way, like the video, share it with someone in your family, and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.